Hey, welcome to another episode of the Ask Minister Yo podcast. Today we're talking about communication. This is part two of last week. Last week we did a general discussion about communication, and we talked about that communication is the key to having closeness and intimacy in your marriage, and that is so very, very important. We also talked about that communication has three parts. There is listening, there is talking, and there is understanding. And all three of those are important to have effective, good communication. Well, today I want to talk about conflict resolution. Today I want to talk about how do you fight fair when you get into that argument? How do you resolve it? And how do you move on and not hold on to things and not hold on to grudges that will lead to more problems later on in your relationship? Good communication is the key to resolving conflict in your marriage or in your relationship. Let's keep it real. You got two people who are already imperfect. On top of that, add that you come from different backgrounds, that you come from different experiences, different life experiences, different things happen to you, different personalities, different attitudes, different desires, different goals, different needs. Conflict is inevitable. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, conflict is inevitable. It's inevitable on your job. It's inevitable in your marriage. But it's how we respond to conflict that makes the difference. Because it's inevitable. You're going to have it. But how you respond to it is the key. Having conflict in and of itself is not a red flag. I had a couple ask me that, Minister, yo, we had an argument. Is that a red flag? No, you're going to have an argument. Arguments, they come, but it's how you respond to the argument that could be a red flag. And it's if you're able to resolve it, now that could be a red flag. And so we want to dive into that today. How do you fight fair and how do you resolve conflict? Let's talk about the 6 ways to deal with conflict. So, number one, identify that you have a problem. Last week we talked about how do you know when you have an issue with communication. So, if you don't know how to identify if you have a problem communicating with your spouse, hop back over to last week's video and check that out. But identify that, hey, we have a problem communicating. There is a problem. Now, each person must identify and agree that we have a problem. And sometimes that's the issue. Sometimes you may have one spouse that says, I'm fine. And you might have another spouse that says, we can't talk. Every time we talk, we fuss. And so both spouses have to agree that there's an issue. If you're the spouse that says, it's all good, and you have a spouse that says, no, we got a problem, then newsflash, ma'am or sir, you have a problem. Because if your spouse has a problem, then you have a problem because you're a team. The Bible says it this way: the two shall become one. Two shall become one. So that means if your spouse has a problem, you have a problem because you're a team. I've never known players on a basketball team to lose a game and say, I won and they lost. No, we all lost because we're a team, right? In the same way in marriage, if your spouse says it's a problem, it's a problem. If your spouse says something's wrong, whether you feel it or not, is irrelevant and immaterial because you're one. And so a lot of times we have to transition from the me to the we, from the I to the us. There's a shift that must take place in our minds. Past the changing of your names. Changing your name is easy. Bethay. It was easy to change my name to Bethay. The twist on right on to Social Security down there and change my name to Bethay. That was easy. But becoming one with Bobby was a little bit more challenging. It's doable, but it takes work, and you got to be willing to do the work to identify if my spouse got a problem, then I got a problem. Number 2, speak to each other with mutual respect and love. Speak to each other as if Jesus was listening, because he is. Speak to each other as if Jesus was in the room, because he is. I tell women all the time, if you wouldn't say it to your pastor, don't say it to your husband. And they're like, ooh, that's good, Mr. Yo. And I tell husbands, if you wouldn't say it to First Lady, don't say it to your wife. Now, I used to say, if you wouldn't say it to your mama, don't say it to your wife. But there are people who cuss their parents now. So, can't use that analogy anymore. So if you wouldn't say it to First Lady, and you wouldn't say it in front of Jesus, if he was sitting in the room, you wouldn't say it, don't say it to your wife. Always speak to your wife. Always speak to your husband with respect, because they deserve respect. No matter how they're behaving, no matter what they say, they deserve respect, because everybody deserves respect. Speak calmly. No cursing, no calling them out the name. Don't call them big head. Don't call them big booty. Don't call them bubble nose, nothing. Don't call them gap teeth, bare mouth, barracuda, none of that. No criticism, no sarcasm, none of that. Avoid using, and this is big, avoid using you always and you never statements. You always do this. You always say this. You never, you never respect me. You never make me feel like a woman. You never back me. You never have my back. Never. That's strong. And that'll put the person on the other end into defense mode. And that's an automatic, I'm defensive, and so I'm going to attack you back. But if I say, you make me feel like you don't have my best interest at heart, see, that landed different than me saying, you never have my back. See, can you feel the difference? You never, as opposed to you make me feel like. It comes across, I'm leading with my feelings and not my anger. And what you bring to the table is what you're going to get back. And so it's important to not only speak with respect and love, but you want to also watch that tone, especially women, especially moms. Moms, we are quick to say, sit yourself down and who you talking to? And yeah, that man is your husband, not your son. And so your tone needs to be a little bit different, because you wouldn't talk to pastor that way. You respect pastor. You wouldn't talk to pastor. Let Jesus come through the door. You wouldn't talk to Jesus that way. Why are you talking to your husband that way? And vice versa. Respect. Speaking in love. Number 3, select the right time. Ooh, that's big. That's big. Select the right time to talk. The right time involves literal time, like a time that's good. Like, I know that when Bobby gets off work, it's not a good time to talk about something that's serious, because he needs some time to decompress. He's had a rough day, and so he's gonna need some time to decompress and woosah and get himself together. Vice versa. When I get off work, I talk all day at work. And I know my husband's going to want to talk when I get home. So I sit in the car a few minutes and just try to decompress. So I won't take my day that I had, my awful day out on the man that I love. I take some time and I calm down before I go in the house, especially if you have children, especially if you have small children and you work away from home and your kids are home. You need some time between work and you walking through that door. You need some time to decompress. You need some time. Take a few minutes in that car, listen to some jazz, listen to some worship, whatever you got to do, bring it down, relax. Because those people in that house, they're not your enemy. Those people in that house love you. Those people in that house want you to be there. And so don't bring your trouble home. Pop the trunk. If you got to use your imagination or literally go pop it, throw it in the trunk and come in the house. Don't bring your day to the house. That's for somebody, because that's not in my notes. But that's for somebody. Create a non-threatening environment. Don't make your spouse feel like they can't come to you, they can't talk to you about certain things because the last time that they did, you blew up. You went all the way to the left. They asked you some crazy like, can I borrow $60? Because I need to do such and such. What I look like the bank? What you work, you got what? Whoa. No, bro. See, all you had to say was, I don't have it right now. Or can I get it to you in the morning? That's all you had to say. No, bro. No, bro. Because see, the next time she needs something, she ain't gonna come to you. And you don't want your wife to have a need and she can't come to you. See, that's gonna open the door for the enemy to send somebody her way that will give to her without conditions. Somebody that will give to her without mouth. Somebody that will give to her and she'll feel like it's no strings attached. They'll make her feel like it ain't no strings attached. But this guy in the street that will give to her because she pretty, because she beautiful, because she fine, without nagging or complaining or having to give it back, guess what? He set her up for the kill. He's setting her up to sleep with her. Only thing she know is she feel appreciated and loved. She feels like she can talk to him about anything. And that's how she wants to talk to her husband. Be careful. Be careful. This is a warning. This is the warning. The enemy goes around like a lion seeking whom he may devour. And he loves to devour marriages. And he uses conflict to do it because conflict is inevitable. Be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Number 4, compromise. Always approach the conversation believing the best about your spouse. Never come to the conversation thinking that my spouse is out to get me, that my spouse is trying to hurt me, that my spouse is trying to use me or abuse me or take advantage of me. If you are having those thoughts, newsflash, that's the enemy. He's seeking whom he may devour. And since you two can't communicate, he's talking. And what he's feeding you is lies. And what his hope is that you will believe the lies and that you will react to the lies and continue to put a wedge between you and your spouse to the point where your intimacy is less and less, to the point where you're not intimate at all, to the point where you don't want to come home at all. And then you're vulnerable because your needs aren't met. You're vulnerable to the enemy sending someone in to destroy your marriage. And it all started because you did not create an environment where you compromised. You didn't compromise. If your wife say, hey, I work 40 hours a week, you do too. Why do I have to bring dinner home every night? Why do I have to cook every night? Can you cook some nights? Can you bring it home some nights? That's compromise. Now, if you say yeah and then you never do it, then you lie. You're a liar. And being a liar is one of the enemies to intimacy. Whew, I need to do another video about intimacy. That keeps coming up. Somebody needs to hear about intimacy, killers of intimacy. Selfishness, oh my God, will kill the intimacy in your marriage. When it is all about you, ma'am, when it is all about you, sir, and it's not about us, and it's not about your spouse, that will kill your marriage. Please let go of selfishness. This somebody, because this is not in my notes. Please let go of selfishness in your marriage. And if you're dating or you have a fiance and you're a selfish person, don't get married, because marriage was meant to kill self. Marriage was meant for you to focus on the other person. Marriage will cause you to focus on your spouse and kill the desires of your flesh. Don't get married if you're selfish, because you're going to be miserable, because marriage is about meeting the needs of your spouse. It is not about you meeting your own needs. Woo, that's for somebody. Somebody pulling on me today. Keep pulling. I appreciate the pull. Compromise means that you're willing to give when it's uncomfortable. Compromise means I'm willing to give grace, to believe the best. I'm willing to listen to your heart and not lead with my feelings. For example, if my spouse says, it really bothers me that you done gain weight. I ain't signed up for no fat wife. And I'm having an issue with your weight gain. I appreciate his heart. Now, he could have said it different and not said it in a way that would be hurtful, but I appreciate him being honest. So now we got to compromise, because why am I fat? Am I fat because I'm overeating? Am I fat because I'm not exercising? Am I fat because of a medical condition that's outside of my control? Was I fat when you met me? So if I was already fat when you met me, then that's not the real issue. So then we're going to have to go deeper, because see, if I was a 18 when we got married, if I'm a 22 now, that ain't much different, sir. So what's the problem? It got to be something else. See what I'm saying? Compromise, talking, compromise, listening, being willing to give, being flexible, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. If that spouse was the one that was fat, how would you want to hear from your spouse that your weight is an issue? Would you want it to be blurted out like that if you were the one hearing it? No. You would find a way to say it real sweet. You may say, honey, I'm concerned about your health. Hey, let's join the gym. And can you meet me there about like 5:30 or 6 in the evening? And we can work out together. What you think about that? When you come home, maybe we can walk around the block or something, and we can have a salad for dinner. That's a nicer way to say you fat and I don't like it. Come on, compromise. Come on, y'all. We can do better. Number 5, resolve. Resolve means we got to talk about this thing until it's resolved. I don't mean we agree to disagree and move on, because that's not resolved. And what that's going to do is that's going to have some underlying issues in your marriage. It's kind of like being passive aggressive. Oh, I'm fine, but really deep down I'm angry. And the more stuff keep happening, it keeps piling up, and then one day I blow because I never dealt with the issues. I just kept pushing it down. No, we can't agree to disagree. We're going to agree. We're going to agree. And if one person needs time to process and then be able to come back to resolve, cool. It's okay to say, hey, let's table this until Friday at 9:30 when the kids go to sleep, and then we'll revisit this, okay? Because I need some time to pray and process and figure out where I'm missing it, because we keep coming back to this spot. I'm missing something or you missing something. I need to hear God on this because we missing it, you know? And that brings me to number 6. Number 6 is prayer. Pray. God is the final authority in a Christian's life. Whatever God says, we do. Jesus is not just my Savior, but Jesus is my Lord, which means He's the King, and what the King wants, the King gets. And so Jesus said for wives to respect their husbands and for husbands to love their wives the way Christ loved the church. He also said that if husbands don't relate well to their wives, then their prayers won't be answered. Mm. He also said, he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. Do you want favor? You want favor? You need to relate to your wife well. You need to relate to her well. In First Corinthians, the love chapter, I love First Corinthians. It talks about how love never fails. And I got to thinking about that thing, and I was thinking about love never fails. Why are there so many marriages that fail when the Bible says that love never fails? Love doesn't keep a record of wrong. I don't keep a record of the wrong you do to me, because when I have forgiven you, I have forgotten and I have moved on, and it's done. It's over with. I love you unconditionally the way that Christ loves me. And so, since Christ loves me unconditionally, I choose to love you unconditionally. So I don't hold on to nothing. And love, that's the reason why love never fails. And it's important in communication that you realize that love is the key to having closeness and intimacy in your marriage. Well, that's my best shot. I hope that this was a blessing to you. Hop over to my YouTube channel at Coach Yolanda B, or my podcast at Ask Minister Yo. If this has blessed you, please like, please share, and subscribe. Until next time, go in God.